Now, Amnesty International has called for an urgent investigation into the mounting civilian casualties of relentless Saudi airstrikes on Yemen. The rights group has said that Saudi air raids have turned many parts of Yemen into dangerous places for the civilians, with millions of people living in a state of utter terror. According to Amnesty, several airstrikes by the Saudi warplanes in densely populated areas of Sana'a, Hodeidah, Hajjah and Ib raised doubts about Saudi Arabia's compliance with international humanitarian law. Amnesty says Saudi strikes and shelling have totally or partially destroyed civilian infrastructure, including hospitals, schools, universities and airports. That has left thousands of people without power while they're suffering from food and fuel shortages. Well, for more on this, let's go to Paris and talk to Gearóid Ó Colmáin, political commentator and journalist. Welcome, sir. Mr. Colmáin, Amnesty International has called for an investigation into the civilian casualties of the Saudi aggression on Yemen. But while the United Nations has failed to condemn the resumption of the airstrikes on Yemen, how serious do you think this investigation would be taken by the related authorities? And just what could a mere investigation do to heal the pain of the people of Yemen?
I don't think the authorities are interested in humanitarian concerns in Yemen. The Western press have very much been behind this onslaught, this terrorist onslaught by the Saudi regime against Yemen. There's been very little outrage about the killings, about the targeting of civilian infrastructure. They've hit universities, schools, hospitals. The bombing campaign is very similar to the NATO bombing campaign in Libya in 2011, where they targeted civilian infrastructure. The purpose of the bombing campaign is to bring Yemen under US.Israeli control. It's also to incite ethnic and religious hatred. In other words, create a sort of a civil war between the followers of Shia, of a form of Shia, of the Zaidi followers, and the Sunni Muslims in the country. The war is part of a new geopolitical agenda, militarization of the Straits of Bandab. NATO, for example, have increased militarization in Djibouti, which is across the water from Yemen. So the humanitarian concerns are of no significance to planners in Washington and Tel Aviv, who are really very much directing this. We should understand that the Saudi regime is a puppet regime of the United States and Israel, and they are doing their bidding. The Saudi regime, of course, is one of the worst dictatorships in modern history. It's unprecedented in its cruelty and it's the horrific methods it uses to discipline and oppress its own people. So we cannot possibly expect that a country like Saudi Arabia would be interested in protecting civilians or liberating other countries. This is an act of outright aggression. It's an act of genocide. It's a genocidal campaign, very similar, as I say, to the NATO bombing of Libya in 2011, and very much similar as well to the Israeli bombing of Gaza in 2014. All of these campaigns seek to destroy civilian infrastructure. That is the only way to bring the country under the control of imperialist powers. But they will also want to foment ethnic and religious strife and create a civil war and open up a new theater of war, a proxy war against Iran. It should also be pointed out that the justification for this military adventure has been that the Shia in Yemen are being supported by Iran. That has actually been dismissed by U.S. intelligence reports. There is no evidence whatsoever that Iran has been behind the Houthi rebellion in Yemen. In fact, the Iranians discouraged it because they did not want a destabilization of Yemen that would possibly jeopardize their efforts at finding a peaceful solution to their own nuclear issues with the West. So That has been the justification,
right.
but the humanitarian issue, of course, is that's a concern for the people of Yemen and people of the region. But the West has absolutely no interest in that issue.
And of course, very briefly, sir, what legal action can Yemenis take against Saudi Arabia, considering the fact that Saudi Arabia launched its war on Yemen without a UN mandate?
It's very difficult for a country that is being attacked by a puppet state or an ally of the United States to take legal action. The Syrian government have a massive dossier of war crimes and crimes against humanity that are very well documented. They have approached the UN, and the UN have refused to consider their case. We don't have the requisite international authorities that are sufficiently objective to be able to take action in terms of prosecuting warmongers, for example, like Saudi Arabia. That is the essential problem right now. What we need are credible international institutions. The UN is effectively an extension of U.S. imperial power, and so while technically the Saudi Arabia is here the aggressor, it's committed war crimes and so on, it's going to be very difficult for Yemen to actually get justice and to stop this legally. Of course, the war is illegal; it's an illegal attack, but that doesn't matter if you're working for the United States and Israel. So this is the problem. I think what they will do is they will attempt to destroy the country, destroy its civilian infrastructure, and they will prop up Al Qaeda. That's what we're seeing. We're going to see a massive upsurge of the Islamic State and so on. And it's really at this stage about chaos management for geopolitical purposes.
All right, so we'll have to leave it there. Many thanks, Gearóid Ó Colmáin, political commentator and journalist from Paris. Thanks for your thoughts there, sir.